I started my periods when I was just 6 years old, so does this mean I'm infertile? Hi, my name is Gab, and when I was just under 7 years old, I was diagnosed with precocious puberty. This was because I basically started going through puberty from the age of 6, body hair, started growing boobs, and then my period started. My mum obviously was not okay with me having all of this going on whilst I was just 6 to 7 years old. So she took me to the GP, who referred me to paediatrics up at the hospital, and that is where the journey began. They basically didn't really know much about precocious puberty, so this is back in 2006, and they were like, what is this condition? Like, what's going on? I was tall for my age, my feet were big for my age, so I've been a size 5 foot since I was about year 2. I was always quite tall. I've been about 5'6" since early on in high school, and I only grew maybe 1 or 2 inches during that time, so all of that height came from primary, but I was basically 3 to 6 years too early. We went to the hospital, and in the end they did indeed diagnose me with precocious puberty, and they gave my mum 2 options, one of which was to treat it and the other to leave it. If you leave precocious puberty, you are at risk of getting conditions such as endometriosis, PCOS, breast cancer. You're at risk of going into menopause very, very early on in your 30s, and you're also at risk of becoming infertile. Now, if you were treated all of those conditions, then lower. There's like possibilities basically of all of those things still happening, but they are very, very much like tiny percentages compared to if my mum just left me to it. My mum did not want me going through puberty at the age of 6 years old. She wanted me to just enjoy life, which I did, except every 3 weeks I had to have an injection in my thigh, which is called gonapeptal. And people may know this as a puberty blocker, which is causing a lot of problems in the news, shall we say, at the moment, because the government is trying to eradicate it for people who are... I'm just editing the video and I realised I couldn't really get my words out for this section of the video. It's such a sensitive topic. But basically the UK government have banned puberty blockers for those that are receiving treatment for gender dysphoria. This basically means that a whole community of people are being punished, and they're saying that there aren't any signs that puberty blockers have more positives than negatives. But then if that's the case, why are they treating precocious puberty with it still? Being transgender isn't your fault. You know, you are who you are, and it must be absolutely horrifying to be in a body that you do not want. And I am not with the government's decisions at all, but I won't talk too much about it because I do not want this to become political. I am, however, sharing my experience with this because I think it's important. Apparently only 1 in 5,000 people go through this, but judging off of my first ever video that I did about this with nearly 1 million views, so many people went through this, were never diagnosed, their parents never even took them to the doctors, and I just find that disgraceful. Your child should not be going through puberty on average before the ages of 8 or 9, and if they are, you should be doing something about it, because in the long term it's going to be your fault for not treating it at the end of the day. And I think my mum saved me quite a lot of trauma, because what is an injection in my thigh every 3 weeks for the opportunity to live life like a normal 6-year-old? Don't get me wrong, it still might not be plain sailing, but a couple of weeks ago I had my thyroid tested because I'm struggling to lose weight, and at the same time we also ran tests to see if I may have PCOS. They all came back clear. Nothing was wrong apparently. I just have a slow metabolism, which is annoying but manageable, and I am actually getting there and slowly but surely dropping some pounds each week, which is a positive thing. I am trying to become a healthier and happier version of myself, and I basically just wanted to make sure that nothing was wrong internally that was stopping that. And I think it's really important actually to be in touch with your body so deeply that you do have those concerns, but not to the point that you are anxious about it all the time. So am I infertile? Well, the truth for me is I won't know until I try. And I am not trying yet. Yeah, the truth for me is I probably won't go through any testing until I need to. And I am one of those people, I think, that I would love children, but I don't think I'd put my body through IVF or infertility treatments if I weren't able to conceive naturally. I just don't like the idea of it. I really wouldn't want to put my body through such horrible processes. And I actually think fair play to people who do. I'm not against it at all. I just wouldn't want it personally. So I guess it's one of those things, like in a few years' time when we're married and we do want to start like thinking about having a family, that's when we'll find out. And we literally speak about it all the time. We say, you never know, like it literally may be the other way around. My partner may be the one who's infertile, but you don't know these things until you try. And so that's my kind of answer there. Because I was treated, it means that my risk of being infertile is so much lower than it would have been if I wasn't treated. And quite honestly, I thank my mum so heavily for all of this. My mum was by my side every 3 weeks. She took me up to the Bramble unit at the hospital, and that's the children's ward at my local hospital, and the doctor who was basically given my case was due to actually move to Cornwall at the time, and he came back for my like consultant chats. Like he would literally come back for my progress because there weren't many appointments left and he didn't want me to be like chucked about. During the diagnosing period and the treatment period, they did give me an MRI because sometimes precocious puberty is caused by a brain tumour. I'm very grateful to say that mine wasn't, but we did have quite a little cool lesson because they pulled up my MRI for me to see my own little brain. And I'll remember to this day that there is a piece of your brain, either here or here, that looks like a broccoli for it. And to me, I love broccoli, so I was like, oh my god, I have a bit of broccoli in my brain. No brain tumours, I just got dealt a not very nice card during my very early years of life. But I hope that makes sense, and if you do have any questions, if you're a parent going through this, my mum is very active on my social media, and if I don't know the answer, she might, and if she doesn't, then there are so many studies out there now. You are far less alone than we were at the time. There was actually a documentary on at the time, but it was based in America, and I do believe it still is out there. It's based in America, it's about precocious puberty, so definitely give that a watch. It's not going to be great quality, unfortunately, because it's quite old now. But yeah, that was what I went through, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Bye.